Yo, this is boyFidget, and you on the Nast podcast. My money, more money, I love it. I'm working, my brother, you're frontin'. I do this, I thought that you knew that it's nothing. Ya niggas, you always wanna get me started. Hey sucker, you sucker, MC's always biting. I'm thinking, creating, I'm barely ever even writing. Your girlie is in my ear, Mike Tyson. I'm living, I'm laughing, you're crying. Oh, you a gangster, right? We make gangster beats. Think you got the flow? I say nigga don't speak. You think you was a pimp? You bought your bitch some sneaks. Fuck the last week and put a mortgage payment on the feet. Bow, 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 bow. Fuck the last week and put a mortgage payment on the feet. Bow. I'm laughing at you. Plus I get more cheddar. Hate fucking with broke niggas who could do more better. Bitches yell and scream, men get fed up. Time is money, I ain't even about to wait up. Dustin off little niggas, tell them get their weight up. I don't even raise my voice if it about some paper. $5 beef, nigga you can keep that. That's the Mickey D's meal with your cheap ass.
Oh, I'm broke, baby. I ain't got no money.
Bullshit. I see you shining, nigga. I can smell a motherfucker with money. Even Ray Charles can see you got money.
Yeah, you know it's boyFidget. I'ma beat the...
My next guest grew up in Seattle. He then spent 10 years in Atlanta, where he built connections and a studio. Now he's back in Seattle, building off the knowledge and experiences he's gained. He's a b-boy and an artist. Introducing boyFidget.
By the way I boogie down. When I was doing bad, man, you were not around. You was rapping, now I'm Batman flying through the crowd. You ain't bumping Young Fizz, that's a party foul. They let me on the West Coast, let me down south. And the shit I'm smoking on got my eyes looking loud. Half baked looking like the guy on the couch. Hella quiet with a pocket full of loud. Writing punchlines just to hit you in your mouth. B-boy for life, I'ma turn the party out.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today, I'm with a very special guest. The one and only Play from the legendary hip-hop duo Kid and Play. Oh, wrong. This is boyFidget. The one and only boyFidget. I don't think anyone else on the internet has that name at all. So I think that's a good name, you know?
Yeah, no. No, I'm pretty sure nobody has it.
Do you still have the flat top on? Or is it like...
I do, it's just matted down.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing with me. Like, when I have, like, special hair, I just can't wear a hat.
So the hat that I got you, it's Make Hip Hop Great Again. It's a dope hat. Social relevance.
Yes.
But also it's a snapback, so you can just, let your hair hang out the back.
Yes.
Or just, you can just, I see people sometimes with a lot of hair, they just unsnap all of them.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
so
yeah.
you can just let it sit how it sits, so it's not a fitted. I was thinking of you and your hair.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, like, I like that little hole in the back of the snapbacks. It make it like a ponytail.
Ponytail, exactly.
Yes. But am I wrong that you kind of channel like that 80s type vibe in a sense?
I always call myself the facilitator of fun and the curator of cool.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I feel like we do as MCs, master of ceremonies, is we bring people together.
Yeah.
We make sure people are having a good time. I mean, traditionally, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so if anything, I do want to be that breath of fresh air where I'm relevant, but at the same time taking the best parts of hip hop historically and morphing that into something that makes sense today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely having fun is a big part of hip hop, and sometimes we get lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? And you starting to see a lot of rappers that might even be coined as gangster rappers dancing in videos, having dancers in their videos, smiling.
Yeah.
Having fun, because that's what this is all about.
Yes.
And so I'm definitely always going to glorify that more than any other part of it.
But what I've started to notice a lot is that a lot of these newer artists, like I don't even count Travis Scott as a new artist. I mean like these brand new artists.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really understand like the roots of hip hop.
They
you know?
shouldn't, because they're new. Like,
What? I
well,
think that's how you blow up. Like, how you stay relevant is by understanding the past.
Yeah, but I've been doing this a long time, and I didn't understand it all at first either.
Right.
So what I mean is, when you say new artist, you're talking about how long you've been doing it versus the age you were born. And depending on both of those things is going to depend on what you know and what you don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's certain things I didn't have to study because I was there for it while it was happening. And same thing for everybody as life goes on. But, you know, when you really care about something, you will go back and do the knowledge.
Right. But like even for fans, for say, like the Yo Pierre, let's want to go outside, that catch line is from like the Jamie Foxx show. I don't think fans take the time to like understand that. And it's just stuff like that makes me really appreciate hip hop. And then when people are like, oh, you just listen to hip hop, I'm like, it's not just hip hop. There's so many subcategories to it. I throw in 60s to 70s music because that's where all the sampling comes in. Like Al Green, Howard Melvin, all those type of guys. Those are like, I think those guys are still relevant today. But I just don't think it's like appreciated. And I think hip hop needs to be more appreciated in that sense. So when I explain that to like older people and they're like, oh, hip hop, I'm like, you probably been listening to hip hop and not even realizing it. Because all these older artists, they were the first hip hop artists, the first rappers, the stuff they were talking about, you know?
Yeah, man. It's you know, I feel like if you're gonna be down with this thing, hip hop culture, it is a culture. So you take all of it. You know what I'm saying? Like you can treat it like you know, where you're just repping the subcategory. It's crazy. I don't even want to think about it as religion, but it's crazy how it's similar in the sense that, you know, all of these religions might have the same virtues, values, same stories, different names, right?
Yeah.
But people want to choose to be Catholic or choose to be this, choose to be that, as opposed to just realizing that we all are repping the same gang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for hip hop. It's like if you can't, as a older head, if you can't embrace what the younger people are doing, or as a younger head, if you can't embrace what the older people did to give you the platform to do your young stuff, you know what I'm saying? Then it's not gonna work. We have to. There has to be that circle of life, that understanding that you can't have one without the other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I try to find the good in all types of hip hop, even if it's something that I wouldn't gravitate towards or purchase.
Right.
You know?
Do you appreciate hip hop and the history of hip hop because that might have been your era, or do you think it's just because you're a lover of hip hop?
That's a tough one because, like I said, like as hip hop, first of all, I wasn't there for the beginning of hip hop.
Exactly.
and second off, as hip hop gets older, we'll have more errors. You know what I'm saying? So, I definitely love hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely have found love for it. But the thing is like maybe I didn't get into it for that, but then it's the journey. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean when people have a certain point of view. You can almost tell how long they've been down with something, or that their faith is still possibly being tested. Like you can't tell me nothing about hip hop. Like it's just a part of me. I live it, I eat it, and so yeah. When you get to that level, it's nothing else really matters. It might be a bad song, but you're not gonna hate on the genre.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
can people appreciate and be genuine towards hip hop without completely understanding the history?
Yeah, because you might just like really like an artist, or what they stand for, and maybe that was your gateway into wanting to learn more.
Okay.
So that's why I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, because it's like we have to constantly be promoting ourselves, not just for our own good, but to shine a brighter light on what we're about. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like this. It's like when sometimes I'll watch something on TV or something will happen, and me as a person of color, I'll be like,
dang, why that dude do that? You gotta mess it up for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard enough, you know, to get people to respect you. You know what I'm saying? If you dress a certain way or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's like
I'm wearing a scrunchie right now. Like fuck.
right. So I mean, all of those things kind of go hand in hand. I do feel like we have the same power that we have the ability to mess it up too. You know what I'm saying? And it's an even playing field, and so certain people, the glass is half empty and half full all the time.
Right.
It's just, you know.
I really appreciate your Seattle song though. I like songs where like they like use like a song that's easy to do is like a song that's about video games, and like the whole song is just video games that like the title of a video game that ends up being a sentence. I liked how you kind of did that with Seattle, and like you named all the popular people in Seattle. I'm like, yeah, see, I don't know for sure if this guy's a transplant or not, but the point that he can make a full song where like he's naming all the history, and then giving that throwback reference, like I'm not Will Smith, things like that. That that touches me.
Oh man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, man. And then I did the beat too. I used the Jimi Hendrix sample to kind of just like throw that in there, pay homage. Me, Jimmy, and Quincy Jones all went to Garfield High School.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, man. Yeah, it's definitely. I got so much love for Seattle. I was in Atlanta for 10 years, and so I got a chance to be there and soak up that game too. And that's really. You ever watch Hip Hop Evolution on Netflix?
I've seen it and I haven't watched it, but
you gotta watch some of it. It'll make you appreciate what we're talking about now even more, because every region has their own history.
Yeah.
You know, the South, you know, Seattle. And so me being able to live in different parts, different regions, and soak up that game, I believe that all of that is, you know, the hip hop gumbo that boyFidget is, you know, because you're all of your life experiences you're putting together, and it just makes me have so much more appreciation for all artists. The more I travel and the more places I go, you know. I
think for a person of color, it's very important to travel to Atlanta. There's so much culture there. Like I took a historical black college tour there, and like it just opened my eyes a lot. What made you decide to move there for 10 years?
Well, I wasn't planning to be there for 10 years when I got there, but I did move there for music. I was pretty far along my path as far as doing music when I was a senior in high school, and you know, I was working on my album. I ended up going to Seattle Central Community College for a quick second, and as a sidestep, and then I just dipped out, man. I just kind of started fresh, and I always feel like if you can make it in a big place, like Seattle, a lot of people, and I love Seattle, but the thing is, why I had to go too is because I was guilty of getting caught in that big fish, small pond mentality. You know what I mean? Where you got your block locked down, so you think you're doing something, and so I had to get out, man. I had to spread my wings and try and know that, hey, if I can make it in Atlanta, you know, I'll come back to Seattle with a crown on my head.
Yes. You
know what I'm saying? So that was always the plan, is just to go to the Mecca, to the source. And honestly, it started in the South Bronx in New York, but Atlanta's been running hip hop for the last 15 years, pretty hardcore as far as mainstream record sales, stuff of that nature, man. So yeah, I just had to go to the source, and glad I did.
Right. Like one of the artists I've interviewed, and he's like, I'm just get excited even and say it, but like interviewing like Cocaine, he was saying, and he's been around since like hip hop was actually taking off, with like NWA and Tupac and all those guys, and he was saying like the biggest thing an artist can do is realize it's time for them to move out of their city, and then once they come back, they have more respect for their city, and their fans respect them more.
Yeah, you know, there's this other thing too. So I used to sell CDs out the trunk, you know, before Spotify, all that stuff. I used to have different gas stations, consignments at gas stations, and have my little display there or whatever. And that was you know, a good chunk of money at a certain time. But what it made me realize doing that different places was that try to sell your CD in your hometown with somebody you went to school with or something like that. They feel like they have a personal relationship with you, and they'll say all the great things in the world. Oh man, I wish you the best. Yeah. Oh, you're not gonna give it to me though. You're not just gonna give me the CD because we're friends, right? We're friends. I know you. When people feel like they know you, like no, you don't know what I'm doing. Like you might know me as a person, but you're not in the studio with me. You're not paying for studio time. You're not doing all this. Like this is what I'm trying to do with my life. Support this. Sometimes it's easier to go places where people don't even know you at all. Where you have a clean slate and whatever you create for yourself is what you create. And when people see you creating something somewhere else, then they start peeking their head and their nose and their eyes over there and like, because
they're watching.
They're watching, right? But sometimes you gotta let people window shop like that.
Yeah.
You gotta make it look enticing from afar, because when you're too accessible, people don't want you.
Right. Do you think people invest in themselves enough through their music?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Like the hustle has to be fine-tuned and adjusted all the time, every day. But that's with any business. You know what I mean? And so yeah, investing in yourself is the only way to level up. I mean, if you just want to be big in one place, then just keep putting that little bit in and reaping the benefits of that. But yeah.
What do you think the importance is of social media?
To shine a light on you. My one of my brothers, he's been in the military for a while, and he's a motivational speaker as well. And he told me a while ago, I'll never forget this. He always said, regarding my music career, he said, light yourself on fire and people will come from miles around to see you burn. Right. You know what I'm saying? Whether they like you or they don't like you, when you promote yourself, I'm even happy when somebody's hating on my stuff, because you took the time out your day to comment on me. Yeah. Oh, you shouldn't have. I'm doing it. I'm doing my thing. Congratulations. If you have haters, or if you can get people to stop what they're doing and focus on you for a second. And so if you actually do have something that's worth focusing on, then social media is awesome. I think where we get lost in the sauce is when you don't have anything to promote, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just a popularity contest of nothingness. Right. but that's just, to each its own, man. And
or I'm the best rapper alive, but you're just starting out.
Yeah. Well, you gotta believe, but you ain't gotta take it to social media right away. Yeah. Maybe put out some music first.
Exactly. How do you invest in yourself?
I invest in myself by just recycling, putting it all back in. I think, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. I think he said it best, all money in. And that was his company. And what it really represents is just, always leveling up, always realizing that you're not going to get to the next level unless you can do what you did twice as good. And usually that takes twice as much effort. You can't be everywhere at once. So then you need to start to help to get a team together to delegate. So you need money to pay people to do things. You need money for this, that. So it's a tool, you know what I'm saying? And so we use that tool constantly to better ourselves. Right.
What's the difference between cutting out the middleman and having a team?
It depends if you're trying to be independent or signed to a major label, I believe, because cutting out the middleman in that sense would be like, I am the label. So if you have a label, then you must have a team. So you're just saying, I don't need you. I don't need anything. Having a team, I guess, it's a tough one, because I think having a team is essential in any situation, but you could either be having a team to entice a record label to get with you, to have attention on you, or you could say, I'm cutting out their label and I'm doing it independently with my team. And I guess that would be the difference to me, is just not waiting for somebody to give you anything. Right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. When did you start music?
Man, honestly, bro, I've been my dad. He was a percussionist, is a percussionist. So I was on stage super young playing djembes and all type of stuff. My mom, she's always been a great writer, poet. So I started writing raps around like 9, and I would only share them to my mom or family members. Then in high school, I got a little bit more confident, and so that's where everything kind of built from. But as far as just hip hop as a whole, I always had someone in my family that was doing music, doing something. So I got into dance before I even started rapping. I was already like, break dancing, trying to be Michael Jackson in the house. So I always knew that I wanted to do something artistically, and but I just didn't know how it was all gonna come together.
Right. What made you gravitate towards hip hop versus R&B or?
My brothers. I have two twin brothers, and they're half brothers. So we throughout my life we weren't always together, but whenever we were, they're 11 years older than me, so they were doing hip hop and breakdancing in particular, like in the 80s, like when it was like really hot. And by the time I'm getting into it, it's like a novelty thing that people aren't really doing heavy, but I'm interested, so they teach me what they know. Right. And then I remember from a lot of my birthdays, like, you would get my mom would get me a CD, and it would be the clean version of the CD. And then my brothers, they would give me the other one because they wanted me to really know what was happening. They wanted me to really hear what people were trying to say. So I got a lot of hand-me-down hip-hop from my brothers.
Right. Mm-hmm. What is the importance of hip-hop to you? Is it because it's Black history? Is it the way you're able to express yourself compared to other music? Or
I think it's everybody's history at this point, regardless. But that's a great question, man. That's a great question. I'm kind of perplexed. I'm trying to draw on a blank. There's so many things I could say. So maybe I'll just say less, man. I think hip hop is regardless of what type of music it is that you gravitate towards, I think all these wonderful things are here on this earth for you to find your purpose. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, if anything, I do thank hip hop for that, for giving me and a lot of other people a direction. And when there is no daycare or baseball or sports in the hood, there was always somebody that could teach you a dance move. There was always somebody that was a rap cipher, somebody's beatboxing, somebody's rapping. So these are things that are in my environment already, and positive things that are in my environment. So I think it's natural that if you come from a place where you have choices, both negative and positive, maybe the negative outweighing the positive, right, that you would gravitate towards hip hop.
Right. Why do you think hip hop's become labeled as like the cool genre? Like the pop artists want to connect with it.
Because it is. Everything we represent is turning nothing into something. You know what I mean? And trying to be original and standing firm in yourself and just who you are. So you might dress different. I have a flat top. It's a conversational piece, but it's also a way of letting people know what I'm about and who I am without even saying a word. Right. And that's the beautiful thing about just that culture, is that there's so many ways to express yourself. Right. I don't know if there's any more ways than any other culture, but it's the one that I'm repping. Right. Do
you think that could be put as a stigma though? Because like when people are like, "Oh, that guy has a flat top," or you have that blonde bleach in your hair, right? Mm-hmm. That people like automatically associate that with an artist in a way. Do you think that's bad or?
It's good if they associate it with me. Right. And to have something to stand out, to be remembered by, is important, especially in this world of social media where something happens yesterday and you don't remember it today. Yeah. Standing out is important. And before social media, I think the way people would stand out was through their speech, through their clothing, through just all using whatever you had to be an individual. And so I think that's what I like most about hip hop, is that we can always just, it's like thrift shopping, and then like and then like turning it into like some expensive you know what I mean, turning it into like some like couture expensive like whatever. So that's how I feel about it. I feel like one man's trash is another man's treasure, and now that we've molded it and put love into it and treasured it for so long, we've made it cool,
right?
And people want to be down with the cool, and you can either create the cool or you can buy into it.
Right.
And I'm on the side of creating it and making other people buy into my movement.
Yes.
You know?
And shout out to the Goodwill in Seattle, like the headquarters one.
Yeah, that's right next to my spot.
Yes, dude. That's easily the best Goodwill even in the Seattle area, 100%.
Yeah, Dearborn, Central.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So what's the meaning behind your name, B-boyFidget?
Okay, so like I said, I was b-boying, breakdancing before I really got into being a rap artist, and so the name B-boy stands for break boy. It's almost like saying Mr. So you'll see a lot of breakdancers put B-boy in front of their name. So Mr. Fidget, B-boy Fidget. A lot of people just would put B-boy in front of their name. When I started rapping, everyone in the hood already knew me from all the park jams and doing stuff. They knew me as B-boy Fidget. I didn't want to change my name when I was giving my stuff to DJs, when I reintroducing myself. And also, you know, the name really embodies a lot of who I am as a person. So I said, you know, just keep the name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why switch it up? I mean, I'm not going to stop dancing, so I don't need two names, you know? So let's just keep the name and just add more meaning to it.
Right. Do you think B-boy is still a relevant name?
Yeah, because I have it.
Yeah.
It's relevant. It's relevant. It's as relevant as you want to make it, right? So I think even now more than ever, because people might not know the history behind it, but they might know me, you know, and that might make them want to do the history. Or I don't know, like a lot of times there might be something that hip hop will shine a light on for me, and then it might have came from something in pop culture a while ago. We were talking about that earlier a little bit off the air, and it makes you want to do the knowledge. And so, yeah, if I could be associated with people wanting to, you know, do more knowledge on hip hop and the history of it, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm always about that. Then that's cool. So
Right.
yeah, man. B-boying's back in a big way too. We're in the Olympics now.
Yes.
We're in the Olympics now. So
insane.
yeah, so you're gonna be hearing a lot more about some B-boys.
I'm the worst dancer ever, and I always want to learn. You know, like that was one of my goals. Like, yeah, summer 2019. So that the summer we just had. I always get confused saying last summer, the summer we just had. Like I feel like. Anyways, my two goals during the summer was to make a podcast and to take hip hop lessons. And I got the podcast down, but I
Hey, well, I'm here, man. You know,
Yes.
anytime you need me, you know what I'm saying? You need a little private lesson, man. You know, I got you.
How has Seattle changed over the years since you started music and now?
Some things haven't changed at all. You know, it's just a natural. It's just like the high school will always be there, but every 4 years, rotation. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel about music in general. Like, it's always gonna be forming into something else, and there'll always be new players in the game, but some of the rules stay the same. You know what I'm saying? So for me, coming back to Seattle, I see a lot of new players in the game, but I don't really feel like the game has changed that much. I feel like maybe through social media, there are certain people that I'm happy that are doing well in their career, that are repping Seattle, and that are shining a brighter light on all the talent that is here.
Right.
And so in that aspect, maybe there's more opportunity because of people kicking down the door. But besides that, I think it's we're in the exact same situation, just a different year.
Right. Do you think you see more of the same people since you've left, or do you think you see massively more new people?
Yeah, I was just totally not really tapped into the Seattle scene when I was in Atlanta. Like, I was just focused on Atlanta. So when I moved back, you know, I'm looking around like a baby, seeing everything for the first time, like eyes wide open, not blinking. Everything's new to me again. And it was a good feeling because when you've been doing something a while, you need to renew your faith in it to keep going hard. You know what I'm saying? So me traveling back, seeing new faces, new people, but in the same game, it's a beautiful thing, man, to see the offsprings of different artists doing their thing, and on a big level too. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to Jay Park, shout out to my dude Cha Cha, shout out to a lot of people that are my dude Lace Cadence from the Flavor Blue. Let's see, there's a lot of people that are really actively like doing things on a big level, and so I'm excited to see that. But
right,
you know,
so being in Atlanta for 10 years, what is the biggest differences between first, like actually the Seattle culture and the Atlanta culture, besides music, to start off?
Hustle. It's it's not about, well, besides music, it's all about your hustle, as far as just like it's all around you all the time. As far as New York's kind of known as like the city that doesn't sleep, right? And Atlanta has that same type of energy where people are just motivated to get it, and then you take that and you merge that with the music. And I feel like there are a lot of trap artists, Atlanta artists, that might not be your favorite rapper, but what Atlanta taught me was how to be your favorite hustler. You know, how to work your brand. You really gotta be amazing to not have good music and get far.
Yes.
Like, and there's so many stories of that in Atlanta. Like, I love don't get me wrong, there's a lot of talented Atlanta artists, but there's a lot of trapper rappers that really are just trying to find another avenue, something positive to do with their life. So they're like, well, forget it, I'm gonna stop doing this and I'm gonna start rapping. And you sound like you just started rapping, but your hustle is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? And people nowadays love authenticity so much that what they lack for in lyrics, they make up for in realness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you get a lot of that in Atlanta, as far as people being able to build careers off of their hustle and their story. You know what I mean? And so I think Atlanta definitely upped my hustle muscle. Moving back to Seattle, I feel like Seattle, the green, the rain, the marijuana, everything is a slower paced a little bit. Whether you want to realize it or not, you won't realize it till you go other places, and you just feel like things are moving faster, because they are. You know what I mean? Because your environment is so important to what you're trying to become.
Right.
So yeah, that's the best thing I could say is, like, if I could take all of the hustle from Atlanta and all of the musicality from Seattle and put it together, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then that to me is like the perfect storm, the perfect combo.
Yeah.
You know?
Does Seattle have an accent?
No, but you know what's crazy? I feel like I'm from nowhere now, because when I'm in Atlanta, people know I'm not from Atlanta when I go there and they hear me talk. But then when I came back to Seattle, people see the way I dress or the way I talk, and
Where are you from?
yeah, so I feel like I'm from nowhere now, but it's whatever.
Aw.
I live.
How long have you been back here in Seattle, man?
About 3 years.
3 years?
Low key.
Low-key. What is it? Why do you think radio in Atlanta really cherishes its upcoming artists and stuff like that?
Because you got to see the hip hop evolution, man, on the Netflix, man.
Okay.
For the one on the South, because we in the South, people, especially in New York, it originating from there, they wanted to keep it for themselves for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you wanted things to go everywhere, but at the same time, you still want to be the leader. And so you couldn't, if you were an Atlanta artist trying to push your stuff to New York, to radio DJs there, it was hard to get on the radio there. You know what I'm saying? They weren't even giving you that pipeline. So what the South did, you have the Bible Belt. You have like North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. We started running circles around that. You know what I mean? Supporting each other. Everyone down south, playing everyone's music down south. We're doing shows around those areas, and just creating the regional movement that had to eventually spill over. It got so big that it had to spill over to New York, but it was because Atlanta just was, nobody was giving them props, so they had to create their own, cheering squad.
Right.
And it's beautiful when you think about it. What happens when you have a little resistance, like beautiful things happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's why it is what it is now. Is because nobody wanted to hear it. Now everybody wants to hear it.
Right.
So
besides like us moving like in a slower pace, what opened your eyes that you didn't really understand living in Seattle and coming back to Seattle?
It made me realize that I don't want to live in one place. I still have my recording studio in Atlanta. Still got a spot there. And although I'm not there that much, like, I don't want to live in one place, like, or be anywhere for too long, because you start to conform to whatever's around you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, like, I'm very in tune to my own body spiritually and everything like that. So like, I know when I'm getting around people or in an environment and it's affecting me to the point where I feel like I'm moving a little slower now. You know what I'm saying? So now I have to do what I got to do and maybe be alone for a while and just zone out and get in my zone to do what I got to do. So I think living different places, traveling, and is the best way to counter the laziness of Seattle sometimes for myself personally.
Right. Have you learned more about your ethnicity from traveling to other places?
Not about my own ethnicity, but just it makes you realize how similar everybody is, how we're all one. And so it hasn't really made me, if anything, that's what I've realized about myself, is that I can look at other people and see myself in them and vice versa. Right. And it doesn't matter what background you come from or whatever, we all got something in common. So yeah, traveling does that for me. It allows me to connect with people on a different level than I normally would.
Right. Did you have a support system in Atlanta, or did you have to create one?
No, I had to create one. I mean, hustle. I had so many hustles going on, man, as far as like selling clothes, selling CDs out the trunk. I had about 10 gas stations, like, with little display cases, and I would go there and consignment, see what CDs are sold. I used to mix, back when mixtapes were super big, I would go straight to the DJs. I go straight to DJ Drama and all these different DJs, and I would get their CDs, for wholesale, so I could put them in my stores, but I would mix in my CDs with the hot mixtapes for other people. Right. So then you might be looking through and you might see a Gangsta Grillz mixtape next to boyFidget CD, and it helps my stuff sell. And so it's like I always had to find ways to make money off of hip hop, whether it was clothing, selling other people's music, recording, learning that whole game, basically, if you can be a man of service, if you can learn how to help other people out, you always be okay.
Right.
So
how'd you come about making this recording studio?
I needed a place to make it happen, and I kept getting kicked out of apartments. Had some home studios in Atlanta, kept getting kicked out of apartments, and then I linked up with another talented dude by the name of Jay New, Grammy nominated producer. We worked on the second Rick Ross album together, Trilla.
Oh wow!
Anyways, before all that happened, he just we were playing beats one day and realized that, hey, we know enough people and we're always together, and rent's not that expensive when you split it two ways. So let's just get a little spot and get it popping. So that's kind of how it went. It's funny how the universe will move you in the direction that you need to go if you're not moving fast enough. Yeah, like getting kicked out of those apartments was probably the best thing that ever happened. Right.
Did you use your recording studio to make new connections, or did you kind of...
That's all I did.
Yeah?
That's all I did, really, because you're trying to make money off of music now, so you're more in the service of helping facilitate other people's dreams. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing favors left and right, giving studio time to certain people, giving beats to certain people, kind of just because I know that, hey, I'm gonna need to call in my favors, at one point. So let me use this as leverage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you might not want to hear me as a artist, but this studio is something that you want.
Right.
So I'm gonna flip this. I'm gonna use this, and it definitely helped me to put myself in a lot of good positions.
Right. How do you make sure your studio is well maintained, even if you're not there right now?
It took me a year and a half to get that whole thing situated. You know what I'm saying? And then it took me like a year before I could even leave Atlanta to come back here to figure out how I was going to keep everything going when I came back. So it's really about keeping good people around you.
Right.
There's only one person in the world that I would trust with all of that money and equipment and everything like that. Shout out to my dude Waddy, Jacob Waddy. You might be familiar with, I don't know if you ever heard of Buddha Bless. He's a producer. He did he's done a lot of stuff for the Migos. His newest claim to fame is the Chris Brown joint he did with Gunna, Heat.
Oh, okay.
And so he works out of our studio, and my dude Waddy, that's he signed to him. So that's, it's just funny how one hand washes the other, but you want to keep good people around you, and I'll put somebody that's a good person in a position that they've never done before, because I know that their heart is going to be in the right place when they learn how to do the job. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost more important than the job itself is the person who's doing it,
Right.
Yeah.
So do you try to advertise that you're the owner and everything of that?
Nope.
Or
It's not about that.
Right.
It's not about that. It's about having a place to create and feeding my family, and I don't need to promote that. I promote the studio time and get other people in there, but I'm not doing it to shine a brighter light on myself. It's just a part of who I am.
Right. So is it harder to make connections here in Seattle since you've had all those connections in Atlanta, or have you been able to make easier?
Yeah, because remember we were saying no one wants to buy your stuff when they can be like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow. But when they see me, I'm in Atlanta, I'm doing my thing, and I come back, there is some energy there where it's like, oh, you left and you did your thing, you came back, regardless of, it's so crazy because nobody knows what you're really doing. You could just have left and not did anything. But that alone, just you don't know what you got till it's gone. The excitement of seeing somebody you haven't seen in a while, reconnecting with them, all that's out the window when you're there every day. No one gets a chance to miss you. So if anything, I definitely capitalized on that when I came back.
Didn't you say before we started the interview that you kind of felt like you were like a newer artist back in Seattle, though? How did that happen?
Well, because you move back and there's just different people in different positions. The order of things has changed. Like I'm even like looking at radio, and I'm like, who's the radio director at this place now? I don't have any pull at this. How am I going to get my song on this station now? There's just like, it could be from that angle even, so got to be humble and not think that anyone owes you anything, because no one even remembers who you were. If you're gone for 10 years and you didn't check up on anybody, you can't expect them to check up on you or whatever, right? So I just treat it with, clean slate. Like, hey, step into the table as a new artist. Like, you don't own, like, I'm not like you owe me something, or I feel like we should, I don't know. I just always try to be humble regardless, but especially in a situation where you're pretty much starting over. You know what I mean? Right. You got to treat it like that.
So do you feel like you have to bend over backwards for like newer artists in Seattle then?
I bend over backwards for myself to get things done, to make moves. And people respect that, and newer artists will gravitate towards me, or if we have the same work ethic, then I'll gravitate towards them. But I'm not even really interested in, I'm a solo artist, so I don't really, there's the value in me knowing my terrain is, that's important to know what's going on, but I don't care about doing tracks with everybody in Seattle. So it doesn't matter to me anyways, I have respect for everybody that's doing their thing, and I feel like if it's meant to be, we're gonna cross paths more than once, and it's gonna happen. Do
you think are there any artists you like think, okay, they're popping right now, I have to keep an eye on them in a sense, like I should probably make them know who I am in a sense, or
Yeah, it's almost the worst thing you could ever do is to try to holler at somebody when they're popping.
Right.
Because it's like, I'm busy. Like, I was busy before, and now I'm even busier, and I don't even know who you are. So, like, you got to tread lighter with that situation. Like, if I know you're popping, I'll try to create opportunities to be in the vicinity,
Right.
or to possibly, if I know we're going to be at the same place, then I'll capitalize on that. Because it's more about, whenever I used to see somebody famous, like in Atlanta, I realized this quick. Like, if you ask for their autograph and be all of on them, then that's where you're
That's
going to
over.
be. Yeah, you're going to be in that zone all the time, right? It's the same. It's the same thing. Like, so do you want to? It just depends on the relationship you want to have with the artist, and to have a realer one, you don't come on so fast. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm going to see you a couple times out. We're going to keep seeing each other because I'm on the same path as you.
Right.
You heard me perform. I heard you perform. Hey, good job. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're dope. Hey, we should do something. It's like there's levels,
Mm-hmm.
and there has to be that mutual respect. And so I'm not out here trying to get anybody's respect necessarily. It's more about, I'm my worst critic. I'm the hardest on myself. I'm trying to impress myself.
Mm.
So if I impressed you and you impressed me, then let's work. Then that's cool because it's mutual. It's not, I'm paying for this feature.
Right.
It's not, so things have to be on an even playing ground for me to even want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is it easier for you to connect with venues though, now that you've built like sort of a name in Atlanta, or do venues even look at that?
What venues look at, they weren't paying attention to me, what I did in Atlanta. They know that, when Fidget performs somewhere, he sells all the tickets I gave him to sell.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He promotes it. He does a good show. And so, hey, if it ain't broke, let's do it again. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I always try to just focus on what's in front of me to be present. So, if I have a show coming up, which I do, April 5th,
Yes.
Nectar Lounge, Mobb Deep, 25th year anniversary of the infamous, Havoc.
Rest in
Mobb Deep,
peace,
rest in peace.
Prodigy.
Yeah, Prodigy, exactly. So that's going to be a big show. And I worked my way up from doing smaller shows at Nectar Lounge to that one. And
Right.
the buyer, the talent buyer over there, he's just been real good about putting me on whatever and giving me a chance to do bigger and better things. Shout out to Mario.
Right.
So it is what it is. I think that good things come to anybody who puts in the work.
So when you're performing at your home city or whatever, do venues help you get onto bigger stages with artists, or is it making connection with those artists when they're coming to town?
It's more about making connections with the artists when you come to town, I think, because the venue really doesn't care about, like, you got to understand, like, the venue is going to have a show the next day and then the day after that. So, like, nobody cares about you. Like, we all have egos, and so I'm the first person to always put mine in check and just be like, you're only as good as your last hit. Your worth comes from what you do. How good is your show? How many tickets did you sell? Can we, where's the, is there something tangible? Can we count it? So yeah, I think if you want to create more of a buzz for yourself, the venues really don't care. They just realize when you're a moneymaker. They realize when, hey, I can put this person in this position and everything's going to be okay.
Right.
But I don't think they really care about me meeting other artists, doing things for other artists. But yeah, that'd be great if they did.
Right. How'd that Mobb Deep show come together then?
Yeah, I just got the call. I got the call and it was just like, yeah, are you free? I'm like, yep.
Right.
Let's go.
So when you do reach out to like connect with artists, would you rather have an older artist on your track or a newer artist that's more relevant?
I say both, man, because first of all, I don't have to, but if it's for my own personal music, my album, I want to know you personally. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'll do a feature with whoever, but if it's for my stuff, then it doesn't matter what age you are. It just matters who you are. like as a person. You know what I'm saying? It's a young artist, old artist. Maybe it's the track. Sometimes the beat will tell you what to do. Maybe the beat is like a sample based beat and it feels a little boom bap, old school hip hop. So then we'll go get an older person and put them on the song. You know what I'm saying? But things have to line up that way where it just makes sense.
Right. Do you think it's easier to pay attention to artists in Seattle or Atlanta? Like even like when you first moved to Atlanta, even
Atlanta, because Atlanta,
the radio and all that.
Yeah. You know what's cool is that I come back to Seattle and I realize that this is the world. Like the music I'm hearing in Atlanta is not just in Atlanta. I come back and every station is playing Migos heavy.
Yeah.
Every station is playing, the baby and this and that and whoop de woo. So this is not an Atlanta thing anymore. It's just what's happening on radio. You know what I mean?
Do you think Seattle can become that? Like have all these Seattle artists?
I think Seattle can be whatever it wants to be.
Yeah.
It's wide open, but what it's going to take for Seattle is an artist such as myself who's a little bit more commercially friendly because that's what it takes to be on the radio a lot. And that's what Atlanta's good for, is that club music. You know what I'm saying? And so it works out perfect. Otherwise, you need to kind of create a marketing plan for yourself where you say, I'm not the type of artist that really has radio songs, but I got good music, so I need to focus more on my videos and touring and getting people around my movement that way. You should do all that anyways, but there's certain artists that their stuff's just good for radio.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it'd be stupid not to try to go that avenue. I think that's most Atlanta artists. Seattle artists, not so much.
But that's the thing. Seattle artists, in a sense, they care about radio, but not as much.
They just don't know how to get on the radio because it's not something that we've traditionally done on a big level. I think there are certain shows, certain programs that will support, but I think it's going to be on you guys to create awesome opportunities such as this one for artists to get their stuff out there. You know what I'm saying? Because who wouldn't want to be on the radio? But it's in New York and in Atlanta, it's like it's a known fact. Like, okay, Greg Street, V103, you're gonna go head to head with somebody else's song. The crowd, the listeners will vote, and a lot of songs will get broken that way. A lot of songs in Atlanta actually get broken in the strip club, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like a different culture of like how you break your song. I don't think Seattle has figured out the formula for how to break a song, because it doesn't just end up on the radio. It's like you have to make a buzz in the street. How do we do that here?
Right.
So that I think that's something to think about, something that I've pondered on many times. So, yeah.
Do you think radio is like a nostalgic thing though, or from being like having some time in Atlanta? Do you think it actually helps artists get bigger, or do you think? Because what I've noticed in Seattle, a lot of artists are kind of focused on the streaming platforms and services versus radio.
Yeah. Okay, so fun facts. Only 10% of artists can sustain themselves off of radio spins. The other 90% have to do shows and sell merch and hit the road and do all type of stuff. It doesn't make sense as a business model to put all your eggs in the radio basket when there's so many other streams of revenue, ones that artists depend on that are actually like more accessible. You have to get your song played so many times on the radio for it to equate to something. So streaming is a little easier because of the money situation. So people are going to put their eggs in the basket where they can make more money faster.
Right.
But as far as reaching the people, and as far as, just let's talk about tradition. We've been talking about it with hip hop, different things. Yeah. Hit the radio.
Right.
You're gonna put the song online. You're gonna put it everywhere else. It's on YouTube. Hit the radio.
Yeah.
So even if it's not your go-to, it's tradition.
Right.
And you guys in this industry have done so much for artists. So it's like now it's to the point where it's like we're both helping each other out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What is some advice that you have for up and coming Seattle artists, creators, influencers?
Well, the best advice I could give you is to check out boyFidget.com.
Yes.
Check out frockclothing.com. Check out frockprinting.com. You know what I'm saying? And if you like any of those sites, then maybe, hit me in the DM on Instagram at boyfidget.com.
Yes.
And we can talk more about it. You know what I'm saying? We could talk more about, how we're going to take over Seattle together. Because,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? We need more soldiers. We need more good people. And we're always recruiting.
Yes. What is the easiest way to reach you? boyfidget.com.
Yes, that's the easiest way to reach me. I would actually say Instagram, but just to keep it easy, guess what my Instagram handle is? boyfidget.com.
And it's actually DOT, not period.
That's right. boyfidget.com.
Yes. Final words for Seattle.
I'm from Seattle.
That's a song, Seattle. This is the Nast Podcast with
B-Boy Fidget.
There we go.